Week 3, the GDPR, it is the General Data Protection Regulation. So that sounds very long, and that's correct because this law is new and it's long, it's beautiful and incredible, but it's kind of a little bit boring to read. I understand that. The title here of this week, GDPR, Help There Are People Outside. Why help there are people outside? Well, we're going to do like an experiment. Get your telephone or picture your telephone. How many apps do you have? Like, how many apps did you download on your telephone? And how many of them were free? I think there will be a lot. What happens behind those apps? Behind those apps, actually, there are people. And these people put cookies on your telephone. These people have access to your photos, your contacts, actually to a lot of things. And do you know what kind of access to your private information you gave them? If all these people would stand in your room now, your room would be incredibly crowded. I think all the people that follow you and know things that you gave access to your private information, if they would line up, there would be a line from you to the street and further. So many people have information on you, but we don't realize that because we don't see them. We simply get a nice app, we get a bonus card, we get all kind of advantages if we sign up for a card or an app. But why do we get these advantages and why are these things free? That is because they collect personal data from you. And that is also very closely related to that GDPR, is the question about privacy. Before this new law, there was a law that was totally not adequate and equipped for this digital era, because it was from before there were computers, before cookies were something on your computer. So the law and the reality, they didn't match anymore. And that's why the European Union created this new law, the GDPR, the new privacy law that is aiming to protect us civilians. Because that is actually the job of the government. Maybe you remember a little bit from resources when we said, well, what is the law? Where is the law? And I said, you have a big earth with a lot of laws, a lot of countries. Within every country, you have the national law. One part is public law, one part is private law. And the part that's public law is between government and people, like parents and children. And like parents have to keep the children safe, the government has to keep its civilians safe and to protect the privacy. And with the old laws, it was no longer possible. So that's why, to protect civilians, they invented this new GDPR, this new law. And that's what we are going to look at. We're going to look at the law. We're not going to memorize it. You will always get every law article that you need at your test. So we do not memorize articles. It's really about like the purpose of the law, protection. It's in the entire EU. So also all the businesses from outside the EU that have business inside the EU, they have to comply to the GDPR to provide the rights that we are entitled to. And that is a big change, especially for the big players like the Facebook, the Microsoft, the Google. They have, their business is to collect data and to follow people. So they have to comply to much stricter rules now. Also, the personal data that people collect are divided in 3 categories. You have to know them. You have to know 5 rights for civil people, you and me, 5 rights that we receive under this new law, and 3 obligations that a business has to comply to this law. So those are the learning goals. You can also find them on Blackboard, of course, but realize that it is about your privacy. It is about this following online. And if that would happen in real life and you would be followed by a massive amount of people all the time, you would be very scared, I think, but because we don't see them, we don't realize the information they collect. There are more rules now, also a lot more obligation for businesses. It was very frustrating also for businesses. It's a new law. There is no set explanation yet on what you can do, what you cannot do. There were a lot of violations, infringements already. Also fun maybe to look it up. like who Airbnb already. Microsoft, of course, always gets a lot of fines with these privacy problems. Well, you check it out on the internet, so you get a little bit an idea about why this law was invented to protect us. Check it out, try to make the weekly challenge, and we'll talk about it a little bit more in our online moment. Bye.